my soul was expanding. I was not me as a little girl anymore. I was an expanded consciousness, becoming one with this space that I was in. The universe is the only word I could think of to use. As I'm floating in this peaceful, blissful state of balance and expansion, something calls me and brings my attention back to myself as Sharon.
I'm so happy to welcome Sharon Sananda Kamara to the podcast today. Sharon, thank you so much for being my guest. This is going to be amazing.
Oh, thank you, Tia. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
You have had a near-death experience at a friend's birthday celebration of all places.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how that happened?
This was actually the second near death. I remembered another one I had when I was 9. After this one in 2001. And some girlfriends and I were going inner tubing down the Guadalupe River in New Braunfels, Texas, which is close to San Antonio, Texas. I lived there then. I'm in the Northwest now in Oregon. And it was her birthday, and 5 of us got together to party and celebrate her birthday. So when we got finished, got back to where the bus picks us up, at the end of the day, it was a little school bus. It's an outrigger that picks us up and drops us off. We rented inner tubes from them. So a little school bus that holds 13 max, and it was pulling a trailer with our inner tubes and our ice chests in it. We had a great day. It was an awesome day. And I go to get up on the bus, and my friends are behind me, and the bus is full. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this because it's full. Why would we get on? But they're like, come on, you can stand. It's not that far, a couple miles, 2 or 3 miles, I believe it was. And so I said, okay. So we got on. They packed us in like sardines. And I was the one that was next to the emergency exit door on the bus. And then we went on driving. He started driving us to the outrigger, to the parking lot where our cars were. And as he was driving, it was a standard shift, a manual shift. And so he was kind of jerking us around, pulling away from a stoplight. He shifted into first, second, and then as he was shifting into third, I was jerked back against the emergency exit door and fell out. The door opened up, and I fell out of the bus as he's driving down the road. And I remember every bounce. I fell out, and I'm thinking right away, I can't believe I'm falling out of this bus. And I hit the trailer hitch on my back. I bounced off there, hit the ground on my back, and I bounced onto my side. And at that point, I knew that something was going to happen if he didn't stop. I screamed in my head, as loud as I could in my head, stop, you're killing me. And as soon as I did that, the back wheel of the trailer ran over my neck and my head. And at that point, I popped out of my body. And I was looking down on the scene, and I didn't have any pain. I felt peace. I felt a knowing, okay, well, I did die. Not that he killed me, he didn't, but of course, but I did die. And I knew I had done this many times before. And this was just another time when I had died. I had that knowing. And so I'm looking down, and I see a big bus coming, and he's still driving away from where I see my body laying on this road. It's about 100 degrees, so it's really hot. And I see my body, and I see this big commuter bus coming toward my body. And I think, I hope that bus doesn't run over my body, because that would make a big mess. But I didn't have any real attachment to my body. So at that point, I also thought about my friends and how this was going to ruin their day. We had a really nice time. We were celebrating my friend's birthday and had a good time. And here I go and die on them, was my thoughts. And that, I'm not going to be able to celebrate. She's going to be sad whenever she celebrates her birthday, those types of thoughts kind of thing. And then when I thought about my partner, I had this knowing, and I could see him sitting on the sofa. He was upset and sad, but I knew that he would be okay. And I thought about my sister, who I was really close to, and she has family, a husband and kids. I thought about her. I knew she would be really sad, but she would be all right because she'd have her family. And then I thought about my mom, who I was sort of took care of. She was elderly, and I took care of her. We just lived down the road from each other at that point. And my stepfather had passed 3 years earlier in 98. And that's where things really started progressing for me, or I needed to know what happens when we die. I needed to know that he was okay. I felt the presence behind me. And I turned around and I saw that it was my stepdad. And he says to me, "It's not your time." I was so happy to see him, and he looked really good. I said, "But I want to stay here. I want to be with you," because we were really close. And he says, "It's not your time." He repeats that. And as we're communicating that, he says, "Your mom needs you. She's going to need you for help with her transition," and that type of thing was telepathic. And as we're communicating, I felt something happened to my right again, and there was a tunnel, which I call the ancestor tunnel, start to open up next to me. And I turned to it, and I was actually drawn to it, to the tunnel. And so I see ancestors that I remember from this lifetime. Wouldn't recognize from here, but I recognize them there within the tunnel, within that space, that portal. And they're looking at me, and they weren't happy to see me. They weren't celebrating and everything like that. Like, "Oh, yay, good job," or whatever. They just kind of looked almost like deadpan look on their face. That was not joy. And I remember that we have a celebration when we go on the other side, when we pass, from our spirit team there. And I said, "Okay, well, I guess it's not my time," but I still didn't want to come. And as I'm aware of this, I see another portal beyond that one. And it's really bright. It's bright as the sun. It's white yellow, bright as the sun, off in the distance. And I'm drawn to that portal. As I gaze at that, it doesn't hurt my eyes. It's off in the distance. It doesn't hurt my eyes. I see a figure moving out of that portal with a white robe, light being, long hair. And I recognize him almost immediately. As he moves quickly toward me, I recognize him as Christ. I flew to him. I'm not religious. I was raised Catholic, but I didn't really jive with the Catholic teachings of judgment. My grandmother was a very strict Catholic. We lived with my grandparents for a little while because our parents were divorced, my sister and I. And it was always, "God's going to punish you for this," and that kind of thing. From her, it didn't make sense to me. And we went to Catholic school for a little while. But I knew him. And I missed him. I missed him very badly. And I flew to him, and he embraced me. And he told me the same thing. He said, "It's not your time." And I argued. I still don't want to stay with you. And that's when I heard his laughter, because he knew. And what happened then was around that time, because it's hard to explain time, because there's no time there. As he was holding me, there was a merging. I looked into his eyes. They were bright blue, how I saw them. I could see the universe in his eyes. I saw all that is in his eyes. There was this communication where not only was I seeing the universe through his eyes, but we were reflecting. He was reflecting me. My soul was being reflected in his eyes, and vice versa. There was a reflection there, mirrors. We were mirrors. We were mirroring the universe in our eyes. And then there was a merging. My heart center, his heart center began to envelop me. There was a connection there. And I was enveloped by this light and this love that we can't even describe here. I was basking in that love and that light for I don't know how long. there was no me. There was just this pure light and love, pure support. As this is happening, I knew there wasn't anything that I could have done or said that he wouldn't forgive. It all went away. It's like there is no forgiveness. You're just being a human. That type of communication was so healing. It was like a balm for my soul. And so we're in that space and I hear my name. And I come back to Sharon. And he asked me if I want to go on a journey. And I tell him yes. And he puts his hand out. I take his hand. And as soon as I take his hand, it's just so intensely physical. So every line, every crevice in his hand. And I take his hand and we fly through the cosmos. And there's stars and planets and we're moving through the cosmos, or the cosmos is moving through us. I say that because, who knows, right? Who knows what is real in reality? But we're moving, it feels like we're moving very quickly through the cosmos. And I see off in the distance another portal, and this is a blue-colored portal. And we move toward that. We move through the portal, and there's a planet, which is a blue-green turquoise color, and he takes me above that, and we're hovering above that planet. And I recognize this planet right away as a home planet for me. And I realize that it's a water planet, an ocean planet. And as we're hovering above the planet, he's helping me be reacquainted with the planet. I connect with the mother or the body, the consciousness of the planet. She's connecting with me. She's welcoming me home, so to speak. She's connecting with me. I'm connecting with her. And I become the consciousness of the planet. We become one. As the consciousness of the planet, I realized that, or I do love every single being, every part of my body that is this planet with so much love and compassion. It's hard to even describe. Like Mother Earth loves us. There's just so much love. I realized that the beings on the planet love her, love the planet, love her. There's a symbiotic relationship. It was a high vibrational planet. It's in a high vibration. I'm thinking maybe fifth dimension, somewhere around there. And so there's this symbiotic connection with the beings on the planet. So I come back and realize that I'm Sharon again. He calls me back and we dive down and dive into the water. And I'm merging with my aquatic self on that planet. And they look like mers, mermaid, merman, mer family, mer kids, that kind of thing. Very similar. And I've made sense why I was always attracted to mermaids and dolphins and whales in my life. I recognize my family. I have a mate. I had children. I was reunited with them, reunited with my parents in that space as well, and was taken on many journeys there. At some point, again, I don't know how long I was there. I believe that there's a part of me that is still there since we are multidimensional, and I was merging with a multidimensional part of myself. Afterwards, in my meditations, I would go there because he told me I could always go there in my meditations, and that once I finished my mission on Earth, that I can place a lot of my soul focus there if I want and be in that space for as long as I want, because they live a lot longer, even though I'm already there. He says, okay, are you ready to return? That type of conversation, and told me that I could go in there anytime I want. And in my meditations, whenever I would go back, they'd have to pull me back because I didn't want to come back. But I told him, okay, I'll go back to Earth on one condition. That was making a deal with Christ. I said, on one condition, that I know that you are with me every moment and you walk beside me, and I know on a conscious level that you are with me all the time. I said, because I don't know if I can do it alone. And he said, yes, deal. And I was back on the ground. got up, ran to the side of the road. The goal is to be aware of our higher aspects and multidimensional parts of us, different personalities and different lives that we live, and in a way where we can move our focus back and forth. This is such a heavy frequency or slow frequency that it's difficult. It was difficult, but it's getting easier for us to remember our multidimensional parts of ourselves. When I needed to know about my stepdad, I started practicing out-of-body experiences because I was having actual spontaneous sleep paralysis episodes, and it's actually scared me. I thought I was dying myself. I didn't know what they were. I believe that was me trying to get to him, trying to find him. I didn't know what was going on. And so I started studying about out-of-body experiences, and we're doing them, practicing, and consciously, it became a lifetime practice for me. And that was part of the gift, I feel, from my dad, was him helping me with that. He helped me so much. I mean, so much. He saved my life more than once after he died before even my NDE, because I was a partier and doing stupid things. I also believe that Christ took me, we merged with the light, and it took me to the water planet to heal my physical body because I wasn't broken. Considering what happened, I probably just either been paralyzed or broken and died. But when they took me to the hospital, they took x-rays and nothing was broken. I still have to maintain my back, and I have a little neurological thing in my neck, but mostly road rash and muscle and tissue damage. It did take a little while because I was banged up, but nothing broken or anything like that. So I feel that those journeys, what he did with me and that journey to the water world, was kind of like a baptism, perhaps, of healing my energy field. I brought that back with me, which, yeah, is totally the gift. It was very peaceful and free, connected to everything. I didn't recall any challenges. It was just freedom and love, so much love and connection. My mate and I in that world, which I feel is an extension of all the mates that I have in this world, another world, whatever, all over the place. There was just this connection that's hard to describe here. You know, it's just hard to describe. It's at a different level. I have a life in the higher planes, which is an extension of the life here. It's just more expanded and is an extension of my mate here, but in a higher realm, higher frequency, where we're doing a lot more than what we're doing here. There's a connection that is telepathic and heart-centered, and we know what the other person is. Lots of relationships like that here. I realized that out-of-body experiences were a good way to find my dad. And I came across that on the internet at the time because I was having sleep paralysis and I didn't know what that was. Paralysis is a natural state that our body moves into when our consciousness is leaving our physical body, we're disengaging from our physical senses, or coming back into our consciousness. We're moving back into our physical body because we're really going in. We're not going out. We're going in, moving within. And sometimes we wake up when that's happening and we're paralyzed and we don't understand what's going on. And there's a lot of fear-mongering stuff about sleep paralysis out there when it's a natural state. And if we wake up during it, we can use that state to project out of our body or, move through it and just stay calm. I was reading everything I can get my hands on out-of-body experiences. Back in the time, it was William Buellman and Robert Peterson, Robert Monroe, those people who I call the gurus of out-of-body experiences. And I found my dad before my NDE. I actually found him before my NDE. I actually saw him a couple of times, 2 or 3 times. I would actually feel him in my room with me when I was practicing, but I couldn't see him. I could feel him very strongly. Lots of times when I felt him near me. In this one out of body, I was standing somewhere looking around. I just projected and I was looking around, and here comes Dad around a building. and he shows up in what we call a zoot suit from the 20s, because he was born in the 20s. He from that time, and it was yellow. And he was wearing the hat and everything, and he came up to me, and there was no words. It was a communication that he was good. He knew I was looking for him, and he wanted me to know that he was there, and that was quick. And then I had some after that, and he's actually showed up in my photos, really clear, spirit photo of his face, and very clear. I had another out-of-body experience with my mother after she passed, and she looked very young, and she was pretty ill. They were both pretty ill before they died, and she looked young, and she had her hair in pigtails and everything like that. And this was on Venus. And then I see Dad, and I asked her a question: do you like being on Venus more than being on Earth? And she said yes, because being on Earth is not like being stuck in the mud.
I want to talk about your first near-death experience.
I didn't remember a lot of my childhood. That was one thing that kind of bugged me as an adult. After my 2001 NDE, my second one, during my meditations, which I made a commitment to Christ that I would be in my room in meditation with him every night at 9 p.m. And I kept that commitment with him. During these meditations, I started remembering why I didn't remember my childhood, or why I had repressed a lot of my childhood. There was abuse there, extended family members and the neighbor. So the extended family member, the one that was the most abusive, that happened the most, I should say. One day, these memories were coming up to the surface, and I could feel the pains. I could feel the terror, all of that, because I had repressed it. And anyone who has memories coming up that they repressed, there's stuff there that we repressed for a reason. So all of that was coming to the surface, so I would remember and heal it, and most of all, forgive it and the people. So in this one instance, I'm in my grandparents' backyard, and I was 9, and the family member is behind me. I'm looking for agates, 'cause in Oregon, where I live here is where I was raised. We could had agates in backyards and things like that. And I hear him, and he grabs my legs and pulls me and starts being abusive, and he beats me up because I'm fighting him. And he hits me so hard under my ribs that all my breath goes out of me, and I go limp, and I pop out of my body, and I felt the intense pain. And it was only for a millisecond when I pop out of my body. And at that point, I feel this immense peace. In 2001, it was more of an awareness and knowing, but this was so much peace. I'm floating in darkness. I'm not afraid or anything like that. It's just pure peace, and I feel completely surrounded, supported, and loved. And I'm floating here in this darkness. I've heard other people call it the void. When I first remembered it, I didn't tell anyone, because I'm like, I was in darkness. I hear all these people talking about light, being in the light and stuff like that. And I hadn't remembered my 2001 NDE at that point yet. And so I'm in darkness. And then when I started becoming aware of other NDEs, or people were having NDEs, I'm like, oh my gosh, I guess I'm not so crazy after all. I realized that they were talking that I was in the void, because people called it the void. So I'm floating there in this space, and as I'm floating there, I become one with everything around me. A resonance. It's like music, but not like music. You say a resonance that I become a part of. I realize that the universe is all about balance. Anything within me that was out of balance, the universe would automatically bring something to balance it out. It was this expansion, this expanded feeling. My soul was expanding. I was not me as a little girl anymore. I was in expanded consciousness, becoming one with this space that I was in. The universe is the only word I could think of to use. As I'm floating in this peaceful, blissful state of balance and expansion, something calls me and brings my attention back to myself as Sherry. They call me Sherry when I was a little girl. And I see off to my right again a light coming toward me, and it's a portal, and it's Christ. And he comes out of the light, and it's Christ for the first time. And he approaches me, and he tells me, "You've suffered enough, my child. You don't have to return." And I said, "But I haven't finished what I came there, what I'm gone to do. I haven't finished my job. I don't want to start over." I told him I didn't want to start over. And he says, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm sure." Because I didn't want to have to reincarnate again and start over. And because I knew that I needed to be here for whatever reason. In 2001, it was a completely different story. He told me my job wasn't done that either, that I still had things I needed to do, not just with my mom, but lots of other things. And because I wasn't in this realm at all, I was starting to have out-of-body experiences, but it wasn't, I never thought of anything like this. Writing books, having a practice, that wasn't anything. I was a bookkeeper for an oil company, been there for years. So I told him, yes, I'm sure. And then I was back in my body.
Tell me about your book.
Sure. It's called Awakened Soul. I have it right here. As you notice, I like these colors, but that's the color of the water world. And this is what Christ looks like. The lady I worked with got a really good description of him, how I saw him in this cover. When I saw him, it's called Awakened Soul. My near-death journey home through Christ's infinite love. This is one. I'm working on two about my out-of-body experiences and how they help me heal too. It's the story of my near-death experiences. I go into a lot more depth with them and the water world as well. I've had a lot of experiences with that I haven't shared, and there's just so much. And all the healing that happened with him in my working with Christ in soul retrieval, going through anxiety and debilitating panic attacks, things like that. I was going through that as well as I was remembering, not just this lifetime. Once I got through the trauma of this lifetime, he took me back to other lifetimes, the Civil War, where I'd lost two of my children, and I was keeping one of them, a little boy, in my solar plexus. And I share an experience where I found that out, and my whole room disappeared one day. And here's this little boy coming out of my solar plexus in a beam of light. But like, what the heck is going on here? So experiences like that I was having, and Civil War, back to during the Roman Empire days, where I realized that I had first made an agreement with the young man who, the relative who was abusing me in this lifetime. I made an agreement with him to wrong me, so to speak, because my mother and I were in that lifetime and we wronged some other people. That story's in there. And to close that karmic loop, he agreed to come down to this planet and wrong me, kill me, like my mother and I had done with others, because she was a regent and I was her daughter. And so I realized that I got stuck in that lifetime. That part of my soul was fragmented in that lifetime. And so I kept asking him in between lives, I didn't get that. I didn't bring that part of me in the whole. I didn't close that karmic loop. Can you come down and be another jerk to me? That kind of thing. And so I can at least heal it and remember it, because we don't remember it. If we don't remember it, memory is everything. If we don't remember it, then we don't know what to heal. So I saw that Yeshua helped me, Christ helped me in a meditation to be able to see that he agreed lifetime after lifetime after lifetime to wrong me and be abusive and do those types of things. And I realized that there wasn't anything I needed to forgive. I felt so much love from him, the relative, in my meditation. So much love that he would do that. He would lower his frequency so low in all these lifetimes, because we are infinite souls, just so that I could heal that. That was huge for me. And then I started healing many other lifetimes. And he helped me with that. And then I was remembering lifetimes back to galactic wars, extraterrestrials, encounters with extraterrestrials. It's a wild ride. Christ meets us where we are. I found that out. A lot of people say, well, how come, what makes people so special that they get met by Christ or things like that? It's not like that. It's just that we have to be open. But what I'm saying is that Christ is not Christian. He meets us where we are. It doesn't matter. I was not Christian based or anything like that. I knew about Christ, but I figured they were out of my league. I couldn't reach them. That's what I was taught. It was we had to go through the priests or the nuns or something like that. And I realized that he's here for everyone and he meets us where we are. We don't have to believe that we have to be at a certain level or anything like that for him to come to us, because that's one thing that he helped me heal is feelings of unworthiness. Not feeling worthy of him being there with us, or any spiritual teacher that ascended or that we're working with. Unfortunately, we have that in us that we feel unworthy. We are loved beyond measure, beyond what we could ever imagine. That we're not alone, never alone. I used to think I was alone going through these trials and tribulations, but we're not. We're not. All we have to do is ask for help. Ask and it is given. It just may not be the way we think it is. It'll all make sense once we get past the fear and the anxiety and the panic and those types of things. I had to remember that walking through the anxiety is what helped me. He helped me with that. He helped me with the anxiety because it was debilitating for me. And I was in panic attacks. So everything's going to be okay.